Good evening. Good evening, trustees, superintendent, staff, and public. Welcome to the Board of Trustees of the South Bay Union School District Board of Trustees meeting. Today is Thursday, September 12th, 2024. Just as a friendly reminder, we ask everyone to silence their phones for us. If I can turn the page here. Here we go. Thank you for your patience. We have a new system here, so thank you for your patience. We're going to move on to item 1, closed session. Board clerk, do we have anything to report on closed session?
Madam President, the board met in closed session and there is nothing to report.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll move on to roll call. The time is 6:07. Ms. Cooper, would you do our roll call for us this evening?
Esparza,
Here.
Liker,
Here.
Lopez Aguino,
Here.
Medina,
Here.
Quinones.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tonight, we have the pleasure of welcoming up students Mia Salcedo de los Santos, and what a beautiful name, and Ismael Salcedo de los Santos, must be siblings, and who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome, children. Welcome, principal.
Please stand. Lay your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And we have certificates of appreciation. And while we're handing our certificates of appreciation, just so everybody knows, we're going to take a quick recess in place while we shake hands and congratulate our students of the month here. And then they'll go to their bulletin boards and take pictures, family, friends, teachers. Please join your students there on Sunny Slope bulletin board. You have to look. Huh? You could go. Thank you so much. Let the record reflect that trustee Eno has stepped out for a moment. So we're moving on. We have a quorum. Moving on to school reports. I'd like to recognize Principal Estela Corrales, who's going to give us a presentation on Sunny Slope School. Welcome. Yay, Estela.
I'd like to start off by thanking Mr. Salcedo for bringing Mia and Ismael to the board meeting. Thank you very much. So good evening, President Quinones, trustees, Superintendent Espinosa, executive team, and community. My name is Estela Corrales. I'm the principal at Sunny Slope Elementary School. I want to start off with a quote that I have used for the last couple years. I'm pointing at you, Amy. Let's see. There we go. And it goes like this. We are about ensuring equity by meeting the needs of our diverse learners through culturally and linguistically responsive practices. This quote, I think, continues to encompass our staff's desire to be responsive to the students that we are serving. because only through knowing our students and the needs that they come with can we truly provide an equitable education. Let's see. I combined, because I believe these two goals are intertwined, goal 1 and goal 2, effective organizational systems and district and school climate, culture, and connectedness. I'm going to go ahead and highlight them together. I want to start with our attendance support team. We have an amazing attendance support team at Sunny Slope, and they are a true example of an organizational system that has really positively impacted our culture, our climate, and our student connectedness. This team of 7 members, which you can see listed, really bring a varied perspective to the work of decreasing chronic absenteeism. We strategically plan targeted events such as neon dances, game days, movie days that are designed to target students that are at risk of being chronically absent to prevent them from being so. And as you can see, we have a lot of fun doing it. Our goal is to have an attendance rate of 95% or higher. And to promote this, we have monthly attendance incentives for individual classes who earn 95% ADA or higher, get a trophy treats. And soon they're going to get to house the superstar mascot stuffed animal in their classroom. Individual students with 95% or higher attendance also receive a certificate every month. In addition to all the fun stuff, I think our most important work really is about providing resources and support to our families and our students. We do this in the form of phone calls, home visits, providing resources, and most of all, just letting them know that we care, and that caring approach really goes a long way in helping our families that really have attendance barriers. Our results, as you can see, the results show that there has been a decrease in chronic absenteeism from 41.5% in 22-23 to about 26.5% last year. And we are currently hovering around 15 to 16%. Community partnerships and parental involvement are very important to the Sunny Slope community. We currently have a partnership with the San Isidro Health Mobile Clinic who come to our site every month. We also have a partnership with San Diego Gas and Electric who have made us a partner and give us a small grant each year to support some of our projects on campus. In addition, we have had increased parental support across the board in school site council, ELA, coffee with the principal, parent workshops, and most of all, PTA. I want to give them a special shout out because they're really doing an amazing job this year. And it's one of the strongest PTAs we've had in a long time. We've also seen an increase in parent volunteers. In the last 3 years, we've gone from about 10. At the end of last year, we had 62 parents that were cleared to volunteer. So we're really happy about that result as well. I'm really excited to share that Sunny Slope has been selected to participate in the California Department of Education Community Engagement Initiative. We will be joining this district social worker, Maria Osborne, and a team that includes a Sunny Slope parent and a Sunny Slope teacher. We will be traveling to Northern California 3 times this year to attend training to build our capacity in the area of increasing meaningful community and parental engagement. So I'm excited to learn and work with my team on that project. Social and emotional learning, our teachers are amazing. Our staff is amazing. They are really committed to creating a welcoming environment for all of our students through the implementation of social emotional learning lessons, community circles. Our school counselor, and I want to name them all, psychologist, family liaison, bilingual intervention assistant, and social worker, they've really been instrumental in creating a supportive environment for our students alongside our teachers. We continue with PBIS to ensure that we offer students a learning environment that is conducive to learning and conducive to developing their social emotional development. We do this by having clear expectations on campus, using a tiered system of support and intervention, using positive reinforcement for expected behavior, and of course, incentives, copying good tickets and prizes and all that kind of fun stuff. And finally, for this part, street data has taken a central role in everything that we do. Only through active listening to our students and our families can we actually know and truly understand their experiences at our school. So similar to last year, we plan to engage with about 60 students or more, and 40 parents or more, hopefully. And we're gonna focus around questions around attendance, around the student learning experience. And we're also gonna focus on these 2 California Healthy Kids Survey questions, which are outlined in our CIPSA. And the first question for students is, do you feel that the teachers and other grown-ups at school care about you? And for parents, the question is, do you agree that this school has adults who really care about students? So the whole purpose is really to gather data to continuously improve the student and the family experience at Sunny Slope. For goal 3, I want to highlight that in addition to the SEI program, we offer a 50-50 dual immersion program. The goals of this program are to become bilingual and biliterate, have high academic achievement in 2 languages, and develop social cultural competence. I believe wholeheartedly that offering these programs for our students is critical in our area and all areas. And I believe that these programs provide our students with many benefits, including the 3 I just mentioned, but also other benefits like cognitive flexibility, superior problem-solving skills, and more opportunities in the future. So we're going to continue to work with our program to strengthen and refine as we move along. In terms of our data, our math data, and this is preliminary data, so I just want to make sure that that's clear. We did show an increase of 3% in math between the 22-23 and the 23-24 school year. And something that I noticed is that it is slightly higher than it was before the school closure. So we are definitely moving in the right direction there. And then in English language arts, we have a preliminary increase of over 8 points from 21 to almost 30% of the students meeting or exceeding between the 22-23 and 23-24 school year. And again, it is higher than it was before the closure when we were at about 26%. Before I talk about our academic focus, I do want to go over our demographics because I think it matters in terms of how we determine an academic focus for a school site. We are predominantly serving a Hispanic population with 93% of our students being Hispanic. Other ethnicities do include 2% white, 2% African American, and 2% Asian, Filipino, or Pacific Islander. 61% of our students are multilingual learners. That's very high. And about 98% of these students have Spanish as their primary language. We do have a very small percentage of students that come in with other languages, like a Western African, Nigerian, and Tagalog. So we started off with the who are we, why do we need this academic focus for, who is it for? It's for our students. And I just described who our students are. Why do we need to know this? Because we want to be responsive. We want to be responsive to the students sitting in front of us at these desks. And understanding who we are teaching is really critical if we are serious about providing equity in education. We need to understand their academic needs. Why? Because we want to be responsive. And then we go to the what. So what is it that we're going to be doing? What is it that they need? The research clearly shows that both of these largest student groups that we have at Sunny Slope, multilingual learners and students who are economically disadvantaged, can have really similar needs. And something that has really stood out for us in the research is that we need to develop background knowledge and we need to develop academic language if they're going to make gains in reading and writing. And so this brings us to the how. How are we going to do this work? This year we are working together with our teaching staff on targeting these two areas, building background and develop academic language. And we are going to do that work through providing integrated language development strategies so that we can build that background and develop that academic language. We're going to do it, give them opportunities to develop language through listening, speaking, reading, and writing. We are going to do this in all content areas, but we're starting off with either science or social studies. We believe that this approach will provide us some positive academic benefits by the end of the year. In addition, we are going to continue with our targeted intervention provided by our learning and acceleration teacher and by our classroom teachers before and after school. These are things we've done in the past. We're going to continue with guided reading and small group instruction. And we are going to continue to use the interim assessments in language arts and math. I know they're optional, but we are trying to be strategic and we want to continue to use those to guide our work. I want to end by thanking my staff. I do have an incredible staff. Sunny Slope is a family. Everyone cares about each other and works very well together. And I believe they're always focused on providing the best possible learning environment for our students and the best academic program for them as well. I want to thank everyone, whether they're here or not, but I do want to give a special shout out to the staff that is here. I appreciate you all for being here. Thank you. And with that, I can open it up to questions if you have any.
Perfect. Again, welcome Sunny Slope. So good to have principals here giving their school reports. And it's really, truly a pleasure when teachers and staff come. So thank you. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'll go ahead and open up to the trustees. Well, Trustee Manny.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Santos family to bring their wonderful kids. Thank you very much. This is very nice for you guys to be here. You guys recognize that? And also, Principal Corrales, I really like your phrase, diverse learners through culture linguistically responsible practice. Excellent. I think it's something that the school as a whole stands for, and I do thank you for that. The attendance, very good job on that. This is what I like to see. I like to see when principal comes up here and give us a good news, give us how the school is operating. The parent engagement is something that I really emphasize. As Ms. Corrales know, I'm always been there for every single event, and I'm always supporting the teachers, principals, whatever the school event that is. The reduction in chronic absenteeism, excellent. I think the kids belong in the classrooms, like I always said. And dual immersion program, continue with that program. My son is doing wonderful. Thank you to you and the teachers I have in the back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I like the academics increase, your attendance increase. Thank you very much for the hard work you and your staff are doing and to help out children.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Congratulations on your CASP scores and your attendance. I especially love the questions to our children and our families regarding feeling cared about. And I can see just from your parent participation that they do feel cared about, and understanding how we can bring in more families to participate is just going to strengthen your school, our community, and our district as a whole. So thank you for creating such a welcoming climate for your families.
Thank you.
I just want to echo my colleagues and say, great job to you and your team.
Thanks.
And I'm gonna say what they said. Cut it short. But I did scroll down a couple of things here. One, you didn't talk about the silly slime that they
Ah.
sprayed all over you. There's a picture in there. Those are fun times that kids will remember forever. So thank you for you and your staff to supporting that kind of fun for kids because they will remember it forever. So thank you for that. Reaching the 95% attendance ADA, super goal. We look forward to hearing more about that. And we do get reports. So I think you were high this week. So good job. And this year, I'm hearing more from principals about sending postcards. And well, we go back, way back. And, but the postcards like went away. So the postcard, kids like getting postcards in the mail. So I'm really pleased that your school as well are sending home postcards because kids really get excited about that. And mom will save it in the baby book. And so they'll always remember those. Your partnerships, I read in your school site plan. And I really honed in on what partnerships that you had and the needs of your community. And I want to recognize and applaud you for bringing in those resources because that community, one needs them. And two, it's evident that they're coming to your school for them. And so when you have fun times, coffee with the principal or, PTA days. I see you on Facebook, your social media, and it's real important for me to see that because we can't get to your site but one time a year. And I want you to know that I see you. Okay. So thank you for doing that because that is a new thing for South Bay that we have Facebook. And I don't know who's responsible for that, but thank them. And I'm looking at that. So congratulations on the work and know that we know your struggles.
Thank
Okay?
you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming. So now we go to report of closed session, Kelly. Sorry. Do we have a report in closed session? Well, that's number 4.
I guess we did it out of order. So
Yeah.
there's nothing to report.
Thank you. Item 5, changes to the agenda. At this time, trustees or executive team members may recommend changing the order of the agenda items and or request that an item from the consent calendar be placed within the discussion action section of the board meeting. The secretary will keep track of any recommendations. Please note, no new items may be added without advance public notice. Do we have any changes? Trustees? Nope. Superintendent? Nope, no changes. So we'll move on to the approval of the minutes as presented. May I have a motion to approve the September 12th, 2024 regular meeting agenda as presented?
I move to approve this September 2024 regular board meeting agenda after determining any changes on the order of business.
You?
I second that.
Perfect. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No, call for the vote.
Esparza,
Yes.
Liker,
Yes.
Lopez Aguino,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Quinones.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. And a lot of you out there in the audience look at us like we laugh a lot. This board is a wonderful board. I just want to tell you that we work well together. So we smile a lot and we laugh a lot. So you'll notice that in our board meetings. So we're going to move on to communication of the Board of Trustees. We have a 5-minute limit per group. And I'd like to welcome up tonight, our first one would be South Bay PTA Council. Welcome.
Thank you, President Quinones, trustees, Superintendent Espinosa, admin team, and community members. It's good to see you all here tonight. Take my glasses off. Our PTA is working very hard right now on their membership drives. Last year, we had a great year with the largest membership I can remember with 1,317 members. We are off to a good start this year with 473 members so far on Totem, which is our electronic membership program. Many of our units still collect monies through envelopes, and those will be collected and turned into council in the next 2 weeks. So I should be able to improve our numbers by the next meeting. I'm hoping for a 10% increase this year, and a portion of the membership stays at the sites and helps get our units up and running. We launched our Reflections program on Monday. Reflections is a student-driven art program. Students can choose to participate, but it is not mandatory. They are given a theme. This year is accepting imperfections, which can be difficult for many people. I embraced it years ago. Students can create art from any of the 6 strands of the visual and performing arts. They can paint, sketch a picture, various mediums, submit photography, create a piece of sculpture in clay or wood or other textiles. They can write a story or a poem. They can write, sing, play an instrument for a song, perform a dance, or create graphic arts. All pieces are turned into their units where they are judged. The top pieces in each category move on to council, which receives from all 11 units. They are then judged, and the top pieces are sent on to 9th District, State PTA, and then National. I really like the fact that the students create whatever inspires them from the theme. When it's all done, we will have a reception for all participants at the unit and council levels to congratulate all the participants. So I have posters. I just brought this, but it looks like this, and it comes in Spanish and English for the units to display at their sites. And we sent out information because it's been a very chaotic week. Sent out information to the principals on Monday, as well as the units. And 9th District is just now doing training, which I already started with my councils, so because we've done it before. But they're usually a little later starting because we start so early. They don't have the theme ready for us until August, and it's just the whole thing. So, but we're up and running, and I'm hoping that we get a really good participation this year because I really love and support the arts for our children. Makes a big difference. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your report. Next up, I'd like to recognize California School Employees Association, Chapter 59, CSEA. Calling 59, CSEA. Okay, we're moving on to Southwest Teachers Association, SWATA. Welcome.
Good evening, trustees, executive team, colleagues, parents, and community members. This past Monday, I, along with Superintendent Espinosa and Trustee Quinones, attended a press conference hosted by Imperial Beach Mayor Paloma Aguirre and the Tijuana River Pollution Task Force. Mayor Aguirre urged California Governor Newsom and President Biden to declare a state of emergency due to the ongoing pollution crisis. The members of our community are not lab rats, and their health should be a priority to our elected officials. We, the Southwest Teachers Association, stand with Mayor Aguirre in the fight not just for our health, but for our right to clean and a safe environment. We ask you to collaborate with us in advocating to our elected officials for the necessary health measures to ensure the health and well-being of our students, educators, and staff is prioritized. At July's board meeting, I spoke about our concern about the number of combination classes in our district. Currently, we have 16 combo classes across the district. At San Isidro specifically, they do not have any standalone grade level classes in the upper grades. They are all combos. Additionally, Many classes across the district are at the class cap. At some schools, the number of combination classes and classes at the class cap are hindering special education teachers' ability to mainstream students into the general education class, as is outlined in their IEPs. As discussed with Melissa Griffith, not only are students not able to mainstream, but one student is being inappropriately mainstreamed into a lower grade level. This could potentially violate the free appropriate public education, better known as FAPE, and expose the district to legal actions. As I previously suggested to Melissa Griffith, breaking apart the combination classes at San Isidro could address these issues. During the class configuration process, SBUSD stated that a minimum of 14 students was required to form a class. Given the current enrollment at San Isidro and the number of students who have been overflowed to other schools, these classes could be dismantled. By breaking apart the combination classes, students who have been overflowed could return to their home school, while those needing mainstreaming could integrate appropriately into general education. This could not only improve academic outcomes, but also alleviate teacher workload. The superintendent recently stated that teachers do not favor combination classes. However, it is not that we do not favor combination classes. The fact is that we know it is not what is best for our students. With combo classes, students do not get the meaningful instruction they have the right to. I urge you to personally oversee this matter and take steps to ensure that our students receive the quality education they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize our district superintendent. Welcome, Superintendent.
Thank you, President Quinones. Good evening, Board and South Bay Union School District. Our district has had a very busy and stressful week. So I have some comments that I want to read, but I did want to start with some gratitude. Often, you know, just being in the classroom or coming in every day, there's a lot of different stressors. But when you have reports of toxic air, or when you have threats to our schools, that really increases the stress on our teachers, on our principals, on our staff, including our students and families. So today, I just wanted to start by saying thank you for hanging in there with us. You know, just we got to keep working together. And I know these things are not easy. It's not easy for anybody. But I just wanted to say thank you to all our staff, our students, and our families. Now, as we all know, and I'm gonna touch upon the crisis at the Tijuana River that we had for decades. Our schools were directly impacted this week as we kept students indoors and canceled outdoor activities on Monday and partly on Tuesday. And I want to provide an update on our activism efforts on behalf of the South Bay community. And the reason I want to do that is because I received several emails from parents that you know, that may not be aware of some of the work that we're doing. So I just wanted to give an update. In the summer of 2023, students created art projects depicting ocean pollution and wrote letters which were forwarded to President Biden. In February, the board adopted a proclamation declaring a local emergency regarding the environmental crisis. During the upcoming fall, during the intersession and upcoming fall, students will again participate in art projects and letter writing addressing pollution. The letters will be sent to appropriate elected officials and government agencies, and the artwork will be used at community events. The district will be hosting a public health forum on Saturday, October 5th at 9 a.m. at Mendoza School. We are creating partnerships with Surfrider Foundation, and Un Mar de Colores to bring environmental education to our students. The September community newsletter will include information on advocacy, including how residents can use their voice and send messages to President Biden. This week, we sent a letter to the County of San Diego Health and Human Services Agency requesting guidance on how to protect the health of our community. We will assist with the distribution of a survey on health, healthy water, healthy air that is coming soon from local governments. These are just some of the actions we are taking to advocate for state and federal action on this crisis. We will continue to work on behalf of our students, staff, and families to mitigate the impact of the pollution and protect the health of our community. And one of the things that we'd like to ask, and one of the reasons that we're sending out information to our whole community around advocacy is we would like to ask our parents, our families to join us in advocating. I'm sure everybody is aware that the county office or public health from the county came out and gave different readings that they took from the Tijuana River Valley. And so that becomes very difficult for school districts because we're teachers, right? We're educators. We're not scientists. We don't know exactly how that all works. And so we really depend on our health agencies to give us guidance. And that's one of the reasons that we're asking for them to give us guidance. But we do know that there is an impact. Many of you that live in IB and work in IB or within our district, we smell that impact quite often. And so we believe that working together is going to be a way to advocate for our district and our community as a whole. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Superintendent, and thank you for sharing the long road and the road ahead. Thank you. Thank you. Well, moving on to public comments on non-agenda items. Public comments. The board will take no action or discussion on any item not appearing on the posted agenda except as authorized by law. Individual speakers are allowed 3 minutes. When the 3 minutes is up, the little dinger will ding. And if you're in the middle of a sentence, we just finish up your sentence and we'll call up the next speaker. So you'll have 3 minutes to address the board on each non-agenda item. Speakers are not permitted to yield their time to another person. The board, again, limits the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. At this time, I'll call for any public speakers tonight. Ms. Cooper.
Yes, we have 3.
Thank you. We have
Lit-
3 trustees.
I'll call you in the order: Lisbeth Becerra, Kayla Stanley, and Virginia Castellanos.
Oh.
I can start, right? Yeah. Okay. Today I'm going to say it in English, or try to. Okay. So my name is Lisbeth Becerra, and I have here just three things to say today. So I'm going to start by saying that I am running for board member. I have been attending to a couple of meetings. I have to get endorsed. As far as right now, I am endorsed by the Democratic Party. Number 2, I want to thank the members that took the time to attend to the situation that happened at Nestor this week. Thank you for the staff. Thank you, Pamela. Thank you to the police department. This morning, we had a meeting with our principal, Jaime Gonzalez. Thank you, Jaime, for being here. And we as parents came out with a plan for the security of our kids. Principal Jaime is willing to work with us and will support our plan. Thank you, Jaime. And number 3, we're gonna start working with our attorneys so we can revise the contract that we have between the district and Nestor and Imperial Beach Charter School. So thank you.
Thank you. Next up.
Kayla Stanley.
Okay. Hi, good evening, board, superintendent, everybody. I'm Kayla Stanley, and I have 3 kids in the district. You guys might remember me from the end of last school year when I very passionately voiced my concerns around transparency with parents. I came here and spoke specifically to Superintendent Espinosa. I expressed that there seemed to be a lack of transparency with families about assets management and SAC. Superintendent Espinosa and members of the board, I believe you heard me. I see a difference. You've extended the work of the SAC by another year at least. You've made every effort to compose a committee that truly represents the makeup of our district in terms of parents, teachers, staff, and administrators. And SAC has made it a priority to communicate and be transparent. So thank you for that. I'm thankful and encouraged that our school district can accept and act on constructive criticism, even if it's very passionate. On that note, though, I have a complaint, sorry. And I've heard it echoed by other parents in the district through social media and in person. And it's in regards to the letter that was sent out on Wednesday morning in regards to the school threat. The district requested that parents not come and pick up their kids when they hear rumors of something dangerous. The district pleads that we teach our children to use social media more responsibly and that we adults avoid reposting threats that have the potential to affect the entire community. I found it insulting and non-transparent. There was no validation of the fear we parents felt. No part of the communication inspired confidence in the security and safety of our students. The takeaway message from the letter was parents overreacted and were overly dramatic. The most recent incident in Georgia could have been prevented if law enforcement and schools communicated effectively. He was a known threat. Administration in the school was notified that he made references to the school shooting that morning. His own mother called to warn the front office. He slipped through at least 3 different cracks in the system that morning. So please forgive me for not having blind faith in all of our schools to be able to protect our students. Essentially, this letter chastised the parental response to the scariest safety concerns schools face. I felt it try to shame me for keeping my kids home that day. I believe that a more appropriate way to address families would be to disclose the threat itself, communicate why you believe the students are safe, and show respect for parental decisions.
Thank you. One moment, please, Ms. Cooper. Go ahead, Superintendent.
Thank you, Ms. Stanley, for that feedback. I just want to address that. I was going to address some of that today, but I already had a lot of other things to say. What that letter really intended to do was to speak to parents around the processes and the procedures for those types of incidents. I'm a parent myself, and as a parent, I may have kept my own child home because the most important thing to me is my child's safety. That is really understood and that is felt. But what that letter intended to do, if you talk to any police officer, any law enforcement, the number one thing they will tell you is do not come to a school if there is a threat when children are present, because then you yourself become a target for that police, for that law enforcement agency. So what we want to do is we want to clarify with our community, because yes, it is a very scary thing. Our children are our most precious, the most precious thing we have as parents. But we also have to understand that once a threat is made, there are certain procedures that are taken. As a school district, when we receive a threat, the number one thing that we do is talk to law enforcement. And sometimes law enforcement gives us guidance, and sometimes they do not. So we speak with them first. We get the information, and then we have a plan on how we're going to disseminate that to the community. And the balance that we're trying to hold is not to cause a panic. With this particular threat at Nestor, we already knew that there were some hoaxes going on. I don't know if students are joking or not. We already knew that that was happening. We already knew that a student had already been arrested in Chula Vista, right? So we don't know if the threat is a new threat or if it's students taking pictures of the threat and then sending it to each other. Students keep it alive, right? So as a school district, without information and trying to ensure that we're protecting students without causing chaos, that's a very fine balance. It is a very fine balance. The letter that was sent out was not in any way, shape, or form to chastise anybody that kept their child home. I'm a parent. I'm not here to do that. Okay, every parent will make their own choice. But it was to try to share information around the process. If parents understand the process, if they understand when a threat is made, I have to really fight the urge to run to the schools and pick up my child. If it's an actual threat, that is the worst thing you can do. And I will share right now, every single school district across the United States has a procedure if that happens. And they do not share that out loud. It wouldn't make sense for us to say, if this happens, we're going to evacuate to this place. It doesn't make sense, right? There's a procedure in place. And I know that's a very difficult thing. It is a very difficult thing, but in no way does our district want to tell parents, you know, hey, shame on you. We're not doing that. But we do want to share information. We want to share, this is the procedure. This is what happens. Our very first thing is we contact law enforcement. Law enforcement determines whether it's a credible threat or not. And then they give us information. And as soon as we have clear information, we send it out. Now, I will say, when parents, and I know parents are just trying to help, they'll post a thread on Facebook before we can send information out, because again, we have to find out what information is true. And then posting it on Facebook, people share it, that creates chaos, right? So what we're asking is, please don't do that. Please give us some time so that we can do it in a very systemic way. And I can guarantee you, this board, our staff, every single person on the staff, students are our number one priority. We are not going to do anything to jeopardize the safety of students. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have one more public speaker.
Virginia Castellanos.
Do I have to press? Okay, I can hear myself. Okay, good afternoon. My name is Virginia Castellanos. I come here tonight as a school nurse and as a parent to children that attend SVUSD. I have grown very concerned about the smell and the exposure to toxins that are coming from the Tijuana River Valley sewage. Specifically, I am concerned about the short and long-term effects on the health of our students and their education. As a school nurse, I have seen an increase in children coming into the health office complaining of headaches, stomach aches, and sadly, most school days, the smell is so intense that I myself get nauseated and I have to work through my symptoms. I'm certain that this environmental crisis is also affecting the ability for the students to focus in class and remain in school. Per the CDC, asthma is a leading chronic illness among children and adolescents in the United States. It is also one of the leading causes of school absenteeism. Our district is already facing record low enrollment numbers, and this environmental crisis will only exacerbate that problem. I have lived in Pearl Beach over 10 years and have noticed the increase in severity of sewage smell, and nothing I've done, like closing my windows, has helped to keep the smell out. My children who attend IB Charter
are starting to report headaches and stomach aches. My youngest child, Jade Lee, who has asthma, has been losing sleep and has missed school as her asthma has severely flared up. I am very concerned for the well-being of all the students in our district. I appreciate everything that has been done thus far, but it is obviously has not been enough. Please be our voice and continue to put the pressure on our leaders like Governor Newsom to declare a state of emergency so we can speed up the mitigation efforts and take care of the serious health issue sooner than later. Aside from that, please be transparent with your staff and parents regarding the air quality conditions and what the district is doing to mitigate this problem for our students. For example, I highly recommend that the district work with the County of San Diego to install air quality monitors and proper air filters at all our school sites. Also, please follow the guidelines set by the professionals instead of making decisions based on unscientific methods like the smell test. Just because it doesn't smell outside doesn't mean our air is safe to breathe. Our students need to be healthy to be educated. They are our future. Our students, kids, and community deserve clean air. Thank you.
That would conclude our public comments this evening. Thank you so much for coming. We're moving on to item 9, discussion and action items, trustees. Under general functions A, there's a resolution 24-006. At this time, I'd like to recognize Superintendent Jose Espinoza, who will introduce the item. Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you, President Quinones. The California School Boards Association asks school districts and county offices of education board members to help increase awareness and support for Proposition 2 by adopting a board resolution in support of the bond. Proposition 2 will fund new construction, modernization of existing facilities, and much-needed improvements such as STEM, career technical education, and other facilities. K-12 education would receive $8.5 billion and $1.5 billion would be allocated for community colleges. We respectfully request that the board adopt Resolution 24006 supporting California Proposition 2.
May I have a motion?
I'd like to motion the adopt the resolution 24-006 supporting Proposition 2 public education facilities bond measure.
Thank you. We have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, a discussion. Okay, I'll just give a little push here, Superintendent. Proposition 2 is really important to our little district. Every dollar matters, and Proposition 2 is matching funds. So our district, we don't have any funds. So it's really important that we do several things come November, which is one is to vote for this. And so that will help our little schools. And so talk to your neighbors, your friends, all your voters that we need Proposition 2 to pass in November. That would help our district tremendously. So thank you so much. With that, I'll call for the vote.
Esparza,
Yes.
Liker,
Yes.
Lopez Aguino,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Quinones.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent. Moving on to educational leadership, item B 2024-2027 Local Control Accountability Plan. At this time, I'd like to recognize and welcome Assistant Superintendent Pamela Riker Montiel for an update on our final LCAP revisions. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, President Quinones, Superintendent Espinosa, trustees, colleagues, and community. This evening, I do bring before you the final revisions that were submitted. Just a little reminder of the purpose of the LCAP. It is a 3-year plan that describes the goals, action, services, and expenditures to support positive student outcomes that address state and local priorities. So we along with other school districts and LEAs. So Nestor and Imperial Beach Charter have to create their own LCAPs. We have to demonstrate how we use the LCFF funds and link that to meeting the needs of all students. There are 8 state priorities that we must meet, and so you'll see that in some of our revisions. Just a reminder that we do have 3 goals. Our first goal is effective organizational systems. With that, we have 6 actions. Goal 2 is our district and school climate, culture, and connectedness, also with 6 actions. And finally, goal 3, academic excellence for all students with 8 actions. So as mentioned, tonight's update will include the final approval of the County Office of Ed submissions of the LCAP to the CDE. So basically, the county looked at the revisions, they approved them. Now they have sent it up to the CDE. And I've never heard of the CDE bumping something back if your County Office of Ed is doing a good job at meeting all of the requirements before submission. So our feedback, the overall approval was received, and you can see the 4 areas that are covered. So adherence to the State Board of Education template. Then there's the other 3 criteria, sufficient expenditures, the adherence to SBE expenditure regulations, and calculation and implementation of carryover. So these are really the business sections that have to do with the money. And then the section that we did not meet had to do with adherence to the template. So I will share those areas with you now. And just to note that this does not require approval by the board because they are insignificant revisions or not significant enough. But we always bring these before the board so you can see exactly what has changed in that final document. So adherence to State Board of Education template. So there were a few items that were things as simple as check marks. So one of our items was missing a check mark. One of our items was missing the action number. So easy to resolve. The other was missing required LCFF priority metrics. So in priority 1, and I mentioned earlier, there are 8 priorities, and so you have to touch upon all 8 in your document. In this particular priority, it was every pupil in the district or in the school district has sufficient access to standards aligned instructional materials. And so although we had that in it's missing. Okay. Although we had the item, what I've done in the slide is put the actual revision that occurred. So we had metric 3.8. We already listed it as LCFF priority metrics 1 and 2, and we talked about grade level standards. And what I had to add was that final sentence where the green arrow is, or phrase, using standards aligned instructional materials. So materials that align to the standards that we're teaching. And then the green arrow on the right-hand side is I had to add after the grade level state standards with the use of, so it starts there with the use of standards aligned instructional materials. So again, 3.8 was in there addressing priority standards 1 and 2, but specific language had to be stated. Here's another example. And this would be in increased or improved, I'm sorry, this is adherence to the template, but it's also in increased and improved services. So if I go back for a minute, because I don't want to get you confused, is that 1 was missing the priority metric. Okay, so that was taken care of. That was 1 item. Then moving forward, there were a couple of items that just needed additional explanation. So under increased and improved services, they do require an explanation, and we put an explanation, but they might have said, well, you have to put a little bit more. So in this case, example 2.6, and this is about our expanded learning opportunities, so our before and after school, what was added was that sentence that says before and after school programming is offered LEA wide to all students because it is a need within our community. So because this is where we are using supplemental and concentration funds to do district-wide activities, we have to identify why. And again, it's not just a need for our unduplicated students. It's not just a need for our English learners or our socioeconomically disadvantaged students. It is a need for our entire community. And then lastly, in addition, after-school clubs and athletics are offered to expose all students to extracurricular interests that further promote school engagement. So that was the additional 2 sentences in this item. Now, more detail was needed for actions 2.2, 2.4, 2.5, 2.6, 3.3, 3.6, and 3.7. I did not give examples for every single one, but they're very similar to what I'm showing you in these examples. Here's another example for 3.3. So I pulled an example from goal 2 and an example from goal 3. And this one happens to be on student progress monitoring. So you can see that the need is stated, but on the right-hand side, I had to give further explanation about why it's district-wide. So the section that was added was due to the number of student groups in red on the California dashboard. It was determined that an LEA-wide progress monitoring tool was needed to ensure all students are making progress on grade level standards. District staff will be able to analyze data across grade levels and across different schools. This data can help determine successes and challenges and where to focus district resources. Again, because this is an LEA-wide action. And that is it as far as our revisions or the examples that I'm sharing. There are a few more just like that where we had to add some additional language.
Thank you, Pamela. Thank you very much for coming this evening and keeping us up to date with the information. We'll go ahead and open it up to any trustees' questions. Kelly, go.
Thank you so much.
Oh, well, I thought you were going to get into the meat and the potato here, but Pamela, I've been reading, I don't know what I've been reading, but I've been reading, they're changing the template again.
They are changing the instructions to the templates.
Okay.
So, which is very much what happened for this 3-year period of time, is that the template itself was probably about, I don't know, 75% the same as the years before, but the instructions changed. So although in the past we had to, for example, put the educational partner input, they changed the template as where we put it and how much information. So some of those things changed. I have been keeping up on that as well, so I'll be curious to see, but it is the instructions. I do not understand it to be the template itself, since this is our 3-year template. It may just be that we have to go into additional explanation as I did now, because in the past, the way that we did the increased and improved services would have been accepted. But that extra sentence or 2 is part of the new instructions.
They just keep changing things, Anya, and I just want to share that legislation on the table. I don't know if the trustees remember, but I went to Legislative Day last March, and one of the things I advocated was reducing all the reports. And so I'm happy to say that the committee has recommended every other year. So I look forward to that signing, and I just want to share that because I know you do a lot of reports, and so does our business services. So it's coming. But real quick about 2.6, where you added, well, I highlighted what you added, but the last sentence says, in addition, after-school clubs and athletics are offered. Pamela, help me understand. Well, I understand, but so everybody understands. Not all schools have after-school clubs for one reason or another. And we get school reports, from our principals. And so what does the district do when there is no after-school club? teachers are not having after-school club? Do we bring in extra people?
So first of all, part of what we do is assess what the interest is of our students at each school, which may vary. But also we survey the staff or solicit the participation of our staff for the after-school either sports or clubs. Athletics is a little bit different because we are searching or we look for our coaches, right? So if we are unable to fill our coaching positions with teachers or certificated staff, staff in general, then that's when we start to go outside to look for our coaches. But first and foremost, we want to look for staff from within. And then, yes, if it is the case that we do not have staff for a particular club or group, then we certainly can use our outside contractors or providers.
Well, very good. I'm glad to hear that because we just went to Barry and it was like the second school that didn't have school clubs. And so the principal was very, very kind to us. And he shared that his teachers are already committed to committee. And there's such a small school. So to put more on them, he didn't say he couldn't or wouldn't or shouldn't, but he wanted to share with the board that because it's so small and teachers are spread so thin. So I talked to the superintendent, and I'm glad I asked you the question because if the schools don't have the staff, that we can backfill that.
Yes, and that is the work of the extended learning department
Okay.
to keep track of that and see not only the interest of students, but staff and how to coordinate those master schedules.
Perfect. Thank you, Pamela. Thank you. Any other questions? Nope. Thank you so much.
So just to let you know that we will be back up here in October to share with you student progress monitoring. That's action 3.3, and we'll be looking at our iReady data from the first implementation. In November, we will have an expanded learning opportunities ELOP update about, at that point, fall intersession. And then certainly we can give you additional updates on clubs and athletics, as well as the work that's happening at our Westview campus. And then in January, fingers crossed, we'll be back up here with the California School Dashboard. Okay. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Do you have a question? No? Okay. Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to item C, reclassification criteria. I'd like to recognize Director Viola Flores, and she will present the item. And our mission tonight would to be approve the updated basic skills requirement for reclassification. So thank you so much for coming and giving us this presentation. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, President Quiñones, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Espinosa, exec team, and community members. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you about a very important and critical process in our district, which is the reclassification process for our multilingual learner scholars. What is reclassification? The California Department of Education defines reclassification as the process whereby a student is reclassified from an English learner status to fluent English proficient, also known as RFEP. Reclassification can take place at any time during the academic year, immediately upon the student meeting all four criteria, which I'm going to share that information with you. Reclassification is a key milestone for our multilingual learners as it signals that each student who is being recommended for reclassification has demonstrated proficiency in English in reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And that's very important. However, it's very important. So, and it helps them continue growing academically. But it also simultaneously recognizes and recognizes the assets that all of our students bring to the table as they walk into our schools as learning two, being dominant in two languages. So today, I will walk you through our current reclassification process and will highlight criterion 4, which includes a new measure that can serve as an opportunity for students to be reclassified. The California Department of Education has set forth these 4 criterion measures. One is the assessment of English language proficiency, which the state of California uses the LPAC. And then also the summative alternate LPAC. Criterion 2 is teacher evaluation. Criterion 3 is parent consultation, and criterion 4 is basic skills. This graphic is it just reminds us of the 4 it's another visual for us to see the 4 criterion, and each scholar must meet all 4 criterion in order to be reclassified. Criterion 1, which is assessment of the English language proficiency summative LPAC. This means that a student who is being recommended for reclassification scores an overall performance level of a 4 on the summative LPAC. Some dually identified English learners may need specific considerations in order to support their needs as they take the summative LPAC. But we also have the summative alternate LPAC, which is still part of criterion 1. And that just states that any student who qualifies to take the alternate LPAC has to score an overall 3 on criterion 1. Criterion 2 is teacher evaluation. Teacher evaluation includes a review of the scholar's curriculum mastery, and it's locally determined. That just means that we use the assessments that teachers use their day-to-day assessments to inform their recommendation. Teacher evaluation is not to be interpreted with an opinion, meaning I'm not going to come to the table and say, I believe, but instead I'm going to use data to help me inform and make a recommendation on behalf of student A. Criterion 3 is parent consultation. So SPUSD teachers and school teams consult with families of all students who are being considered for reclassification. That could either be in person, that could be a phone call, it could happen during parent-teacher conferences, it could be through Zoom, Teams, any available technology, but it must be discussed. A conversation must be held with families of the students who are being recommended for reclassification. And last but certainly not least, criterion 4, which is our basic skills relative to English proficient students. So criterion 4 is an assessment that is locally identified that we're going to use in SPUSD to say, hey, this is the assessment that all of our students take, not just our multilingual learners. The LPAC is just for our multilingual learners. In criterion 4, it's an assessment that all students take, EOs and MLs. And currently, so I'm going to take you to that slide. Currently, we have CASP as the only assessment that we use to measure how our multilingual learners are doing in comparison to our EOs. So what we are proposing today is adding another opportunity using iReady as an or, not an and. So I want to make sure I emphasize this to provide an opportunity for our students to reclassify. So I'm going to go over the table here. In grades K through 3, students in primary grades, they would qualify for reclassification if they score, again, a 4 on the summative LPAC or a 3 on the alternate LPAC, okay? That doesn't change. Once we get to the basic skills assessment, students in K3, they would, if they qualify for reclassification, the iReady local mean scale score would be used to recommend the student for reclassification. And then when we move to 4th through 8th grade students, again, the summative LPAC overall, that doesn't change. The alternate LPAC overall 3, that doesn't change. And then when we get to the basic skills assessment, you'll still see the CASP. That was our prior assessment. And it's the nearly met or exceeded. And then we add the or. If a student meets the nearly met, exceeded, and CASP, great. But if they don't, they have an opportunity if they meet the cut score, the threshold in iReady. So it's really that or. It's giving the students another opportunity to like, okay, if we didn't make it in CASP, well, now we have this opportunity to show what we're doing throughout the year so that CASP is not the only metric. So it's, again, I want to emphasize that or. So with that, I would like to open it for you for questions.
Very good. We'll open up for questions. Trustee Liger.
Thank you so much for explaining all of this. So just to clarify, they will be taking the CASP or the iReady assessment regardless. It's just they get the best of the 2 scores to help them.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Trustee Manita.
I'm rethinking my question in my head.
No worries. No worries.
I'll hand it over to Trustee Manuel since he was ready.
Okay, so is that for reclassification, just a series of teacher evaluations or just a single evaluation? Explain a little bit. So
Our teachers know our students best. They interact with them day in and day out. They give different types of informal assessments in their classrooms. So they can use those assessments. For example, F&P, that is an optional assessment in our district for teachers to give. But as a teacher, when I'm giving my recommendation, I can choose to administer that assessment and see, how is my student doing? I want to hear them read 101 and see how they're doing. I'm going to use other informal assessments to make my decision if the student is indeed ready to be recommended for reclassification. Mhm. So it's not just one. They have a plethora of formal assessments and informal assessments that they give in their classrooms.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go for it. It's okay.
So can you just clarify the difference between the LPAC and the CASP? And what is the difference for English learners and English speakers?
Beautiful. Thank you for asking that question. The LPAC is an assessment that only our multilingual learners take. We have 2,500 students in our district, all K through 8. So only that student group takes the LPAC once a year. The window opens February 3rd and it closes May 31st this year, actually. And that assessment is broken down into 2 components: oral language and written language. Oral language has 2 subsets. That's our listening and speaking domains in the LPAC. And then the written language has the reading and writing domains. So essentially, our multilingual learners take all 4 domains, and overall they have to score a 4 if they're taking the summative LPAC, or a 3 if they're taking the alternate LPAC. Now with the CASP, that is an assessment that all of our students take K through 8th grade, and that is in ELA, that is in math. For 5th graders, and I believe it's 8th graders, they take science, they get assessed in physical education. So all students take that, and there's a span of assessments, but the main ones are ELA and math. So that's the difference. Yes, you're welcome.
I have a question. So I know that at Nikolov, when they started the dual language immersion program, the reclassification rates like jumped up. A lot more students were being reclassified. Do we have information about like the rates of student reclassification at like different school sites? And like, is it higher at schools like Nikolov, Nestor, and Sunny Slope?
We had that data from last year, and I don't want to give you misinformation because I don't remember those statistics. But we did see some schools fluctuate in their rates. Some schools stayed consistent from the previous year. But I can get you that information. I don't want to give you the wrong information. We haven't opened our reclassification window for this year yet. That is coming. Parent-teacher conferences are around the corner, so that's going to start in October. So that starts then, but I can get you that information. I don't want to give you inaccurate numbers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a quick question. Everything's aligning. The child is recommended for reclassification. What happens next?
We celebrate, right? Like that is amazing. It's the fact that we bring our students bring their native tongue, and they bring that richness of their culture and their families and everything that they bring. We celebrate. And then they're coming in. Remember, our students are not only learning English and academic English, speaking, reading, listening, and speaking, but they're also learning content in English language arts and mathematics and science. And you have to also learn the academic language in those subject areas. So celebration is absolutely important. But after that, there is a process that's called the RFET monitoring. We monitor students for 4 years to ensure that they weren't exited prematurely, that they continue to make academic success and, and just reach their unique levels of academic success. But that process does exist. So that process also, let's say a student was reclassified last year and it was their first year last year, then we email teachers, hey, remember you have student A, they're on the reclassification monitoring list. This is year 2 for this scholar.
So we still have testers that go out to the sites and pull children to do that final assessment?
So yes, so they're phenomenal. They do the initial LPAC. That's for our students who do not have LPAC scores, who are new to the district. So they do administer that initial LPAC. And then for the summative LPAC, they only do the one-on-one with our primary kiddos. So it's students in K through 2nd grade. That's who
Well,
they support.
I
Yes.
didn't want to not mention them because they work very hard.
Yes, they do. Yes, they
And
do.
we used to have 6. So what the ladies are, I think they're ladies are doing, I think there's only 2 of them.
Yes, there are. Mhm.
Yeah, so do tell them that the board appreciates their work and know that they're assessing 5,000 kids if they have to, right? Or 2,000 or 1,000, whatever it is, it's still 2 people out there. So I just want to recognize that work. And does anybody have any other questions? But
I want to add another question to
Mhm.
her first question. So what happens after the 4th year of tracking those students that got reclassified?
Well, it depends on, they're doing great. There's no other process that they fall into.
There's no other test.
No, they'll take their if they're in high school, they'll take whatever assessments are given in high school, but there's no other test that they need to take in order to confirm that they've been reclassified. No, if a student is struggling though, after being reclassified, then the SST process is used to support the student so that they can continue to make progress. But there is no going back or saying, oh, we're going to make you an EL again. No, that doesn't exist. They just continue. And if they need support, then the supports are provided through small group instruction, through an SST process, or whatever supports the student might need. But there's no other test. You're welcome. Good question.
any other questions, board? No. Ms. Cooper, do we have any public comments?
We do.
Thank you, Ms. Cooper.
Vanessa Barrera.
Good evening. I'm concerned about our criteria 4, right? When we look at what it says that we will use the CASP and or iReady, right? Those are both 2 computer-based assessments. What if a student doesn't do well on computer-based assessments? What if the student doesn't know how to appropriately use a computer device? What if the student can't focus on that assessment? At DLAC, last week, this came up and it was addressed, and parents, some of the parents there voiced their concern that their students have a learning disability, that their students have ADHD, anxiety, and that they can't focus. And what was discussed was that idea of adding another measure where the teacher could be the one that's listening to the students read, that is the one that is giving them the score versus a computer. The other thing about iReady is we're just implementing this. My members have had at the most 2 hours of training on this assessment. And we're using this as the criteria to reclassify our multilingual learners. I ask you to please rethink that, to ask the director to go back to the table, to go speak to staff, to look at what is another measurement that we can use in order for us to give our students the best opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome back up Director Flores, if you could.
Absolutely. So I just want to clarify, I want to go back. It's not and, it's an or. So before iReady was there, it was just CAS nearly met or exceeded. So as we add iReady, it's an or. If we don't add iReady on there, then we're only left with CAS. La señorita Barrera brings up the one-on-one testing. We used to have FNP and DRA as a district-wide mandatory assessment that was given to all students. Currently, FNP and DRA are not mandatory district-wide. It is an optional assessment. Criterion 4 has to have assessments that are district-wide and that are not optional. Our teacher leaders can use FNP and DRA under teacher evaluation to administer that FNP or DRA to decide like, okay, yeah, they are showing this growth. They are making progress. So they can use FNP and other assessments under Criterion 3 to make their recommendations.
Thank you. So in regards to PD, some schools have had iReady, and so now all schools have iReady. So what are we doing to support teachers in that program?
I believe the Department of Educational Services has given some PD at the beginning of the school year, and their department has also gone to the schools and provided PD at the sites by releasing teachers and providing supports during the day.
Perfect. So if a teacher's struggling, they can go back to their supervisor, principal, and say, I need extra PD.
Yes, and I would go even beyond that. And not only that, but I know that if they reached out to Director Chavez and Coordinator Smith, that they would also provide any support needed.
Perfect. Any other questions? Kelly?
So for Criterion 4, is it the LPAC or one of the others? Like, would the alternate LPAC be considered? They have to do both.
So the summative LPAC overall 4 is taken by students. So the overall LPAC 4 is a non-negotiable. But if you are a student that has exceptional needs and you qualify to take the alternate LPAC, then you don't take the summative LPAC. You take the alternate.
Right.
Okay. And you have to score a 3 there. So the LPAC is a non-negotiable. Our multilingual learners have to take it. What's it's the iReady measure on this side, the basic skills assessment.
Have the EOP and the basic assessment in.
Correct. It's part of the criteria. Yes. Okay. But it's not, they don't have to do CASP and iReady. It's CASP or iReady.
So can there be a plan to meet the needs of our students who these computerized assessments?
Yeah.
Absolutely. If a student has a need that they can't stay on a computer, whether it's CASP, LPAC, or any other assessment, and they have exceptional needs and they have an individualized education plan that outlines that student Maria has to take breaks, or she needs some type of accommodation in any assessment. It doesn't even just mean computerized. Any assessment that I give as a teacher, whether it's paper or computer, I have to abide by that IEP and make sure that those accommodations are in place regardless of the type of assessment. As a teacher, I would then work with my IEP team, my principal, the coordinators at the district level. Hey, let's make sure that these accommodations are in place for these kiddos. You're welcome.
Director Flores, in terms of the LPAC that all students have to take
Yes.
in order to reclassify, is that a paper pencil test?
No, sir, it is computer. It's a computer. It's
It's
a,
computer.
it's a digital test, correct?
So students, regardless of iReady or CAS, who are also computer-based tests, they must sit on a computer and take the LPAC.
Correct.
Do you know if there are any way, is there any way that the state says, hey, if the student can't sit and take the LPAC, then they're excused from taking that test?
So there is no exemption, as compared to the CAFs, there is a way to opt out of the CAS, but the LPAC you cannot. However, if you, in your individualized education plan, have a certain need that prevents you from accessing the LPAC, the IEP team, in consent with the family, with the parents, can say, we want to exempt Mr. Espinosa from the speaking domain of the LPAC or from the reading domain of the LPAC. So domain exemption does exist, but not of the whole LPAC, the whole assessment in general, because it's the English language proficiency assessment.
Okay, so, but that's only for students with IEPs and.
The domain exemption, yes.
Okay, only for students with IEPs.
Mhm.
So then if students are not able to be exempt from the LPAC, then taking the iReady may help them prepare to take the LPAC.
Yes.
Okay.
It could
Thank you.
help, yes.
Thank you.
And I just, again, we're not here to hurt kids. We're here to celebrate. We're here to support. We're here, like, what are other avenues that we can put in place to support our kiddos? So I believe that if we're going to be we are using iReady district-wide. Why not put it there as another opportunity? It's not an and it's not an or. Again, our teacher evaluation, our teacher recommendation and feedback is so important, and they can use F&P and DRA and different types of assessments to make those recommendations when they are ready to do that, if a student is ready for reclassification.
Okay, question.
Yes.
This is only for students with IEPs. What about the students that have not been recognized with an IEP that might have an IEP, meaning, what if the student doesn't concentrate on the computer or
Mhm.
gets frustrated making a test?
Mhm.
And I'm asking this because there's students like that.
Mhm.
Or if they're sitting to peers who are done and they're, "Oh, I'm done, I'm
They
done,"
get that
and then
pressure.
they rush.
Yes.
So how can we support those students? Because not all students are being tested if they have IEPs, if they have anxiety. If because this is a medical excuse for students to take the alternative LPAC
Mhm.
over L3. So what can we do to support students? So to me, I'm sorry, I know technology is the thing right now, but to me, going back to paper testing,
Mhm.
it's more accurate than a computer.
Mhm.
Just throwing it out there. I don't know what you guys think. It's just my opinion as a parent. I have 3 children in the district, and I'm not only looking after them, I'm looking after all children
Mhm.
that we have in our district.
Absolutely. To answer your question, in regards to students who don't have either a 504 plan or IEP plan, the assessments on their own have some breaks, like pausing rules, 20 minutes and things like that. I know that's not enough, but I feel like as a classroom teacher, there are ways that we can cultivate testing environments that support our students. I know that doesn't solve everything. I I'm not gonna tell you that it does, but I know and believe that our teachers do their best to cultivate testing environments that support our students. And then there is that foundational layer that the assessments do give a 20-minute pausing break. And I know that our teachers also allow our students to take breaks as needed in the classroom.
And I think an important part to again, recognize is that we don't have a choice. Students have to take the LPAP, and that is a computer-based test. So yes, it may be, you know, a lot better for a one-on-one testing situation, but as a school district, we don't have that choice because the state says
Correct.
students will have to take the LPAP.
Yes, that's a non-negotiable.
Got a quick question. Only if you're aware, is there any other school districts have adopted the reclassification?
Say it again. I'm sorry.
If you are aware, if any other school districts have ever taken the reclassification, have voted or have adopted that?
Anytime that there is an adjustment on reclassification, it is good practice to bring it to the board for approval. So I don't know what's happening in other districts, but I would say that they are doing that. And it is good practice to bring that to the board to approve that.
Yeah, because as you know, iReady is something that it's innovative, and I think I'm all for it. But it's just a new program that is out there. I think in a couple of months, I think we're gonna see, you know, how it's working as improvements. So that's where I'm at. So.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, I want to make sure I'm understanding. iReady, at this point, it's an or. So we're not saying
It's a must,
it's a must.
not an and.
It's another option for students to reclassify. I can tell you, based on iReady's data, there are going to be students that are going to do great on iReady. There are going to be a lot of students that do great. There's going to be students that struggle, just like everything else. And so for those students that are doing really well and they take one CASP test, because the CASP is only once at the end of the school year, and maybe they had a stomach ache that day, they had a headache, they didn't sleep because it was the smell outside. Well, with iReady, with the or on there, this gives them another opportunity to reclassify, not just using the CASP. This change is only positive for our students.
Any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion? I move to approve the updated basic skills requirement for reclassification. May I have a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Esparza,
Yes.
Liker,
Yes.
Lopez Aguino,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Quinones.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
perfect. Thank you so much. Moving
And
on.
before Director Flores sits down, I just want to take a quick minute to just give her a huge shout out, her and her team, and all the amazing staff members that gave up their Saturday, last Saturday, to hold a workshop for parents around reclassification. They had a lot of partners out there also. The Navy was out there. Who were some other partners?
Elevo was there, and we had volunteers, we had teacher leaders presenting, we had principals presenting, directors presenting. And it was a great event. We're gonna get some more turnout. I know that's the first time that we do something like this, but it's a baseline, and we're gonna do it again. And I think, you know, it's about commitment, right? If I go work out today and stand in front of the mirror, I'm probably not gonna see results. If I do it tomorrow, I work out again, stand in front of the mirror, I'm probably not gonna see results. But I do know that if I stay committed and keep doing it, I don't know what day, maybe day 75 or day 100, I'm gonna see those results. And I believe the same here, that as long as we stay committed and keep giving these opportunities to our families, that the masses are gonna show up. So thank you for that, sir.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you, Superintendent. We're moving on, trustees, to business services. Item D, the Facilities Asset Management Superintendent's Advisory Committee update. I'd like to recognize our Assistant Superintendent, Rita Laura, who will give us an update on the Superintendent's Advisory Committee. Welcome.
Good evening, President Quinones, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Espinosa, staff and community. The purpose of this presentation and future presentations is to provide the board and our community with updates after each meeting and to provide the committee's progress towards providing a recommendation for the board. The Superintendent's Advisory Committee was created in 2023 to assess our facilities and also the impact of that declining enrollment is having on our district. It serves as an advisory role only to the superintendent and to the Board of Trustees. During the 23-24 school year, the committee met 5 times from from first meeting in November and the final meeting in March. The meetings are facilitated by MGT consultant Michael Taylor, who you know and you've met. At the end, by March, the committee did provide 3 recommendations, which was a closure of Central Elementary School, two Nestor Mendoza options, one being the distributed option. If you recall, that was Nestor staff and students going to Mendoza, and then Mendoza students and staff going to other schools. There was also a recommendation of a straight swap of Nestor students going to Mendoza and Mendoza students going to Nestor. Before we provided the formal recommendations to the board in May, we did have 3 town hall meetings at Mendoza, Nestor, and Central. And that was to give the community an opportunity to provide input. And that was done through 5 groups or stations, each with its own purpose. One was to provide input on the process of the committee, also, or how we got to the recommendations of the committee. Also to provide input on the 3 options. So that's 4 stations there. And then also input on other ideas to build off the proposals, off the options, or to just provide other ideas for us to consider. Finally, on May 20th, we stood here in front of you and we gave you a review of the entire process during the 23-24 year, and also gave you information regarding the outcomes of the town hall meetings and also the 3 options. At the end of that meeting, the board direction was to proceed different directions here. One was to proceed to look at the central option that the advisory committee provided. Also to consider the superintendent's concept. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in the next slide. And also another option was to look at both, proceed with the central closure and also consider the superintendent concepts, explore it further the following school year. I will get to that concept. I thought it was the next slide. Something that we did here last year, especially during the town hall meetings, and sometimes when people were up here talking to you, is that we did not have enough parents on the committee. I believe 3 were consistently attending the meetings. This time around, we reached out to all community members via the community large blast that Amy sends out on behalf of the superintendent. And we requested that parents contact us if they were interested in being in the committee. So this time around, we do have 12 parents, and you see the breakdown there. I won't go through each one, but the win here is that we do have a total of 12 parents this time, representation from all school sites. And then you can see the further breakdown there. We have a total of 42 voting members now. It's gotten a lot larger. And we also have guests. Guests include other principals from all sides because we want them to be aware of what the committee is discussing and what's being presented. And that way they're very informed when they're going back to their staffs and able to communicate and provide updates with them as well. We have other directors there as guests as well. Our SWATA president is a guest. And also I'm there myself as part of the support along with the consultant with Michael Taylor, and also my admin secretaries are taking notes in minutes. It is a very hungry bunch, so we make sure in order to keep them engaged and happy, we do provide dinner each time now. We provided it once. Now, once we provide it once, you have to continue doing it. So we'll make sure to continue to do that as we continue to meet. This year, we're scheduled to meet 5 times as of now, from August to December, we have a date still to identify in November. You can see the 5 meetings there. So our first meeting on August 28th, the purpose there was, since we had a lot of new members, we spent plenty of time, or Mr. Taylor spent plenty of time just reviewing the previous year and all the work of the committee, town hall meetings, going over some data again, and you know, the declining enrollment data, and also talking a little bit more about the alternative proposal that was presented on May 20th. We did talk a little bit towards the end around that proposal, and we did present several options to continue to explore based off the proposal, and I'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment. Here it is. So the alternative proposal, you've seen this before, but again, as I'm here providing an update, and for those who may not be familiar with it, especially out in the community, just want to quickly review what the proposal is like. There's a big focus on programs, but also a grade configuration. But what I'll start first with is that you know that our facilities are not at full capacity. So with declining enrollment, we really have to look at consolidation and understanding that we do not need all of our facilities. So there's closure at Central. Again, this is the alternative proposal. It's closure at Sunny Slope and also at Berry. We're looking at grade configuration changes at Bayside from TK to 3 and 4 to 6 at Oneonta. And you can see the program focus there of STEAM. Nestor Language Academy, where it's currently at, would be a 4 through 8. And then TK through 3 students would move to Berry. We have the grade configuration at Penn's dual language program change there, dual language, TK3, Nicola 4 through 6. And Mendoza and Emory, where Emory would be a TK3 focus on BPA, I believe, and then Mendoza a 4 through 6 grade. So that's kind of the breakdown there of what everything that's happening with the alternative proposal. So before I just show you all of that. So I had mentioned that our work this year with the committee is really to look at this proposal and provide pros and cons with it, challenges, what do we like about it, what's some great things that we see here. But it's also for the committee to look at what this would look like over the next few years as far as implementation. So what we do is provide several options that Mr. Taylor just thought of, okay, this is how I see this possibly happening. But these are just starting points. So as I show you these options, they're just starting points for the committee to kind of look at, think about, but then dissect, analyze, look at pros, look at cons, look at what's possible. Also to ask questions that then we would need to follow up with as we continue to meet. So here you see in option 1 that was presented to the committee, and it's really looking at breaking down the district from 3 areas: the west side, the central side, not Central Elementary, but just the central part of the district, and the eastern part, the east part of the district. So here an option is that in year 1, and we look at possibly the earliest start being, not possibly, the earliest start would be 25-26. Does not mean it would start that year, just that it's the earliest that we would start. So there you see, we would start in the west side with closing Central, students and staff moving to those 3 schools, possibly others as well. Does not mean, but the majority of students and staff moving to those 3 schools. And then you see the grade configuration change happening at Bayside and Oneonta, and the students moving to, flip-flopping from Bayside to Oneonta, and then from Oneonta to Bayside. So that would be year 1. As you know, there's so much happening here, we would not do everything in just 1 year. We would really want to break it down in order to do something like this. So you see year 2 here, the central part, very similar. So now we're closing Berry. Students and staff are moving to certain sites. There's grade configuration changes at Emory and at Mendoza, and grade movements as well. And then you see the Nestor grade configuration change, and then students moving to Berry, which is now vacated because it's closed. In year 3 would be the eastern part of the district, where we're closing Sunny Slope, students and staff moving to Pence and Nicola, and you can see again the grade configuration changes there. Again, this is just an option for the committee to look at and kind of think about, and providing feedback and input on this option. They are totally open and free to make changes to this, think of something different that's similar but different. things that we may not have thought about. There's an option 2 to consider also, and that's to close central, students and staff, most of them, the majority moving to those 3 sites that you see there. And then continuing we do that in year 1, but also identifying other schools for closure and consolidation. So looking at other parts of the proposal and creating a plan for those to happen as well, whether it's the closure of Sunny Slope and Berry, maybe it's just the closure of one of those schools, and then grade configuration changes, continuing to explore that, and then kind of putting all that together as another option for the board to consider. Again, the earliest start being 25, 26. Again, this is just a possibility, but might not be the favorite of anyone, but we still want to just put it out there as a 6-year plan of just 1 year closing a school, students and staff move. Year 2, there's grade configuration changes. Year 3, Berry is closing, students and staff are moving the majority to those 3 sites and so forth. So you can see that 6-year plan there. Again, just to consider. Again, the earliest start would be 25, 26. So by the end of this meeting, we presented these, but the members did not have an opportunity to get in groups and discuss. We just showed them these options to begin to think about. Now, we just met yesterday, so I was able, as much as Amy wants me to turn this in 3 months before the start of a board meeting, I asked her to give me a little bit more time. So since we just met yesterday, I was able to at least put a little bit together before I stood in front of you today. So the agenda you see there, we quickly focused on the reviewing 2023. We had a few more new members, four staff members from 4 different sites. It was their first time meeting with us. So we quickly provided an overview of the 23-24 school year, but really the focus yesterday was the group activity, getting together in groups and talking and discussing about the different options that were put in front of them. And when they get into their groups, you can see what we ask them to do. They count off 1 through 6. We make sure that it's a group of, from different school sites, teachers with parents, with administrators. So it's a diverse group. Each of the groups are diverse. So they break into groups. They just talk about it. It's open-ended. Begin thinking about the options. What are your questions about it? What are the pros and what are the cons? This group activity is over the next few months. So really they did not finish yesterday. They just started. But this is what they began to think about and discuss. And you can see what they start writing everything down, on the large Post-it sheets. Again, they started this work, but they didn't finish. They have plenty more to meet and talk about. One more option was presented yesterday that wasn't presented during the August meeting, and that's just another kind of extended phased approach. It's called phased approach, and instead of 6 years, it's 5 years. So another option for them to talk about. Towards the end, they make changes to these options. They share out. They also put them in order of what their preference is, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, or just we absolutely do not want to consider one. That's fine as well. And just a reminder, we have our district website, and we do, after the meetings, put up we post our presentations, and we post the notes, the minutes, and they're open for everybody to look at. I wanted to add that all the materials from last year, from 23-24, so that people would not get confused and just see so many things posted, we did create a link where all of that is in a separate folder. So if anyone wanted to refer to last year's presentations and minutes, they could just click that folder and just see last year's. So what's next? A reminder, we say this all the time, no decisions have been made, obviously. We continue to explore and think about how we want to come back to you, the board, and provide some new recommendations. Our next meeting will be in October. The groups, like I mentioned, will continue to analyze the options. As I was sitting down, I realized that our board meeting is before that meeting. So I may come up and provide an update. I'm not sure if there's something to provide an update on since the meeting is after. But obviously, again, I just thought of that as I was thinking about coming up here. And that's it. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you so much. And it's music to our ears when you say you have more parents up there. So it's like it was 12, right? So
Mhm.
that, good work, good work. So we'll open up to trustees. Trustee,
Thank you so much for all of this. I love seeing that there's so many options. I love that, we are showing that we're listening and that nothing has been decided. I'm curious if the members that we have from each school, do they have the opportunity to talk to parents who are not in the committee? Like, is there some kind of like, coffee with the SAC members that like, or some kind of written thing where they can get the information from or opinions of parents who are not in the group?
So every principal is present, whether they're part of the committee or as a guest observing. Again, we have representation from every school site. Now, as far as do they formally have a coffee with the principal or that type of,
Not with the
No.
principal, with other parents. So parents, so we have like 4 parents from each school or something. to
there's
them.
at least one parent per school.
Okay, so then there's one parent who's at the meeting
Mhm.
or so to be sorry, I'm tired. It's been a long day already. So there's one parent at least from each school who's there to say like, I like this idea or I don't like this idea. Then you have your teachers and staff, but that one parent who's there, are there any opportunities for them to get input from parents who aren't there?
Okay.
So in other words, just, it could be a letter, it could be like a handwritten, like to get a consensus of if they're the person representing their school, they're the parent representing their school, how are they doing their best to represent all the parents at
Yeah.
their school?
No, that's a good question. Now, I do not know if they're formally how they're doing that back at their sites, but it's something to, I think, to explore and to work with the school sites to provide those opportunities. But definitely, I'm not aware of any happening now, but good idea to consider for sure.
Thank you.
And I would just add, the committee is encouraged to share the information with their community. Now, I don't know that we could require a parent to have something like that. But definitely if a parent, wants to do that, say Sunny Slope or IB, and they say, hey, is there a time at the school site that we can share this? I am sure that would happen. The tricky part is, we don't want to really put that responsibility on the parent, right? Because we're glad that they're participating and giving their input. But definitely they are encouraged to share information and to have other parents look at the website, because that is where all the information is.
And that's why I say something like a note card, like when we did the town hall, like something easy that parents who aren't in the group can contribute to the person who is helping form the ideas.
Mr. Rigo, thank you for your presentation. So of course, this is just a recommendation. That's all it is. So in the superintendent's advisory committee, is there more people that needs to be added or just a set number of people and they already got the committee done?
So when we had developed the new committee, well, most of the members returned. But we did reach out for additional members. So for the last few weeks, we've been adding members. It wasn't set. We think we're in a good place though, because at some point it just becomes too large. As you saw, there's 52 now with the guests. So is it where we're saying no, nobody else can join? I wouldn't go that far, but I think we're in a good place where we have good representation. We've allowed these last few weeks for additional people to be on the committee. So again, I think we're in a good place where the committee is, I would say, very, very, very close to a final committee.
Because, I would like to have representation from every school grounds. It would be nice to have everybody, voice their concerns, and that's something that we.
There is somebody from every school site,
Okay.
from our 11 school sites, as far as their TK8 school sites, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And another thing to add to that, we have to remember that we also do the town halls. So once this is complete, once this process is complete, that more than likely there'll be a couple of town halls to share that information with the whole committee, with the whole community, right? At the town halls, anybody can show up. It's not just a committee. But in terms of being able to work and come up, consensus on something, then it has to be a little, more focused.
And so just to clarify, as we roll out like whatever we decide, it also, like if we have the 6-year or we can revisit after 2 years to be like, okay, this didn't work so well. So now our next step, or maybe we get a whole bunch of new students and our enrollment starts to grow because we have such amazing language programs and arts and science. And so we have all these people come back and then we can revisit, right? What
I
we're
see
gonna
a lot
do.
of challenges with revisiting once a decision's made, and I'll
Okay.
just give you an example. A school is closed and 2 years later, it's kind of hard to say, well,
Oh, I mean, revisiting the third year part. So we closed down.
oh, okay, I see what you're
We
saying.
closed down a school. We reconfigured the grade levels. Like I know that Ms. Rebecca Robinson spoke about, like, if you're gonna do it, like, have the different grade levels, because that's something that parents are really concerned about. Like, I can see how that makes our teachers be able to focus on literacy and things at the grade level, but I can also understand the challenge of having 2 kids at 2 different schools because of the grade level split. So if it does come to a school saying, you know what, we kind of like this idea because we don't want our little ones with the big ones, we are willing to try it. And then they try it and then they say, we love it, so we could continue on, or we can say, maybe that wasn't the best choice, so we don't do that with another school.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that kind of revisiting, obviously not reopening schools.
Kind of assessing how it's going
Yes.
and then looking at as we're implementing the following year. And remember, we do give ourselves a year of planning before the next, right, for the following year of whatever we plan to do. So that year of planning is to assess our current implementation of year 1, year 2, year 3, and then really looking at the following year. So definitely opportunities for us to assess how we're doing and what we plan to do next.
Thank you.
I had a question about like the special guests. Can we be special guests at some of these meetings?
I believe the answer is yes, as long as there's not more than 2. We did have a special guest that was a board member yesterday. So I'm pretty sure that can be accommodated.
Trustees, yesterday we met with the superintendent and we were sharing committee work. So if you haven't done that, reach out to the superintendent and he'll be happy to advise you about committees and attending a committee. So if you haven't had that conversation, give the superintendent a call.
Is it because I said there's food or? Yeah, okay. We'll make sure.
Also, I was wondering, in these meetings, will there be some discussion around like potential opportunities, like what's gonna happen on the central site? Right, like,
Really, that's the following phase. Once there's decisions made and there may be a vacant building facility, then that discussion happens. That's not necessarily right now, the committees, the purpose of our current committee. That becomes a separate discussion with possibly other people.
and then lastly, I know there's a lot of concerns about like transportation and having like multiple sites. This might also be later, but are we gonna be looking, figuring out stuff around traffic or like revamping our great bus system that we already have?
Our Director of Transportation is a new member this year because we know there's going to be a big impact on our community and possibly needing to transport more students than we are now and maybe even a lot more. So our Director of Transportation is thinking about different scenarios at this time and what the impact would be on transportation. So definitely there is discussions around the impact on transportation.
And this for real is the last one. there was talks about it being like open enrollment. I know that here it's mentioned a lot of like these students go here, these students go there. Are we still considering like a open enrollment model where parents get to decide what school their kids go to?
Yes, would be considered as well. I think I try to say the majority would possibly go there, where other students may go somewhere else. It may be parents requesting, choice of school or programs.
Cool, thank you.
Just have a quick question. The committees met in August, September, and October. November will be TBA, and the last one will be December.
That's what we have scheduled as of now. If we need to meet again, then we'll schedule during 2025.
So after the December meeting, we go on winter break, we come back, and at that time, you'll give us another report.
I plan to be here after each meeting to
Okay.
provide you an update. Now, do you mean like we had the May 20th final board study session,
No,
another
no, no.
one? No, just an update.
Well, I'm looking towards a town hall meeting
Oh,
schedule.
okay.
So that would come after December.
Well, possibly. I mean, it may be November where the committee feels strongly about their top 3 choices.
Oh,
And then
okay.
we start thinking about next town hall meetings. So again, we just have them on the calendar for now. That December meeting may not be necessary, depending on how quickly the committee provides their favorite recommendations.
So who recommends what school we have town hall meetings at?
Who recommends? So the last 3 town hall meetings we had, we were just strategic in the location being the communities most impacted. So that's how we made those decisions. As far as how we make future town hall decisions, it's to be determined. I think how all this plays out may tell us what the best locations may be. But we haven't gotten that far to discuss yet.
Well, there was a couple of schools that were caught unaware. So, my focus would be nobody's caught unaware.
Mhm.
And that the information is certainly provided to the principals, and the principal disseminate the information and the town hall information. If one school needs to go to another school like we did, invite other schools to come. That would be the high point of my ask today.
And just to clarify, when you say caught unaware, what exactly do you mean by caught unaware?
Well, when the board heard, the whole analysis and then of the work of the committee, and the superintendent came with his dream of programs.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
and so Sunny Slope and Barry were identified.
Mhm.
And so I don't remember them in the room.
Oh, I see. Okay.
See, so I don't know, well, I do know, but I'm just going to leave it there for you and to think about, because we need to include everyone.
And when we received all the feedback around transparency and communication is one of the reasons I'm also here today and not waiting until the end, and really providing timely updates to the board and the community,
Yeah.
which again is open to everybody. And as principals, then after each meeting, also go back to their communities and share. We hope that something like that is avoided.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the principals disseminating the information. And I also want to recognize our community officer here that puts it in her community newsletter every Monday. And so there's lots of information out there. But unfortunately, we can't get everybody, okay? But I appreciate the messaging and the work that you're doing and the committee's doing. And I think that was one of the things we talked about, was better messaging back then. So I appreciate that you're working hard to that end. And with that, we don't have to make any decisions tonight. It was just an FYI. You're good, board? Yep. Okay. Thank you
Right,
so much.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, stay right there. We're going on to item E, 2023-24 annual statement of unaudited actuals. Again, we recognize our assistant superintendent, Rico Lara, and our mission tonight would be to approve the 23-24 annual statement of unaudited actuals. Thank you again.
Good evening, President Quinones, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Espinosa, staff and community. This evening, or is it already tonight? Maybe I should say tonight, we have a short presentation of the district's 2023-24 unaudited actuals. And we ask ourselves, well, what do you mean by unaudited actuals? It's an annual statement of all the receipts and expenditures of the district for the preceding year. So during 23-24, it's what we actually spent during the 23-24 fiscal year, or how we actually spent. Okay, it was off. So just a reminder of where we are in the annual budget cycle. As you know, in June, we adopted the 24-25 budget. But now here in September, we closed the books and we are presenting now our unaudited actuals. For the majority of the presentation, I am going to ask now Director Meras, Fiscal Director, to continue to present.
Good evening, everyone. I'll try to be as detailed and quick as possible. I know the numbers are boring. Like Assistant Superintendent Rigo mentioned, we're going to be looking at 23-24 unaudited actuals, which means it's going to detail our revenues and expenditures for unaudited before we get audited for last year. If you guys recall, back at budget adoption back in June, we discussed our multi-year projections looking forward for the next 3 years, 24-25, 25-26, and 26-27. But today we're going to mainly focus looking back. Here, you can see our actual expenditures, revenues, and the change in the fund balance. Our difference, our variance from estimated actuals in June to our actual expenditures, that is an increase in the ending fund balance of $1.1 million, which means our ending fund balance increased to $42.69 million. Just a quick reminder, budgets are a fluid documents based on assumptions, subject to change, which means a budget can change from 1 hour to the next, from one day to the next, morning to evening. So they keep changing. Just want to let the board know that we will be providing updates on the budget throughout the year, and you might see some variances or differences as we go through the year and we see our actual data coming in. You can see here our local revenue, usually based on interest and other variances. There's a difference of $2.7 million. And you can see our other expenditures, certificated salaries, classified employee benefits, minor changes based on staff reduction, like teacher retiring or staff retiring or hiring new staff members or being unable to fill some positions. Another area, let me go back here. Another area where there's variances is usually purchase orders, purchases that don't realize throughout the year or contracts that are not fulfilled during the year, costs an increase or decrease in expenditures, which those are all part of that difference at the end to our ending fund balance. You can see here again our increase to the ending fund balance, $1.1 million, and with all the different lines that affect that line.
So something we did starting a few years ago is really looking back and well, let me step back. It's really important that when we're estimating the actuals that we come, that we are very accurate, that we put in the work to look at budgets, what's been spent, what may be spent, and come to as close as possible to the unaudited actuals when it comes to the ending fund balance. We want to be able to say what we're presenting to you is as accurate as possible. So if you see back, we'll go back to 16-17, the difference was $10.2 million, which is a 20% change. That's too much. That's too big a difference. We're really looking at being in the 2% range when we're estimating the actuals again versus the unaudited actuals. And you can see there over the past few years, Again, I'm looking now at 1920, where there was a 13.3% variance. The difference in fund balance from estimated to unaudited actuals was $7.5 million. So between 16-17 and 2021, there was about a 14% average variance. Again, we want to be around the 2% variance. So looking at 21-22, our first year of really looking at it at a deeper level before adopting the budget, there was a 5% variance, difference of $2.65 million. For 22-23, it was about $500,000 at under 1%. So really, really great variance there. This year, a $1.1 million difference, a 2.25% variance. So again, the reason we're showing this is really want to show how we are we are being as accurate as possible. Again, things change. It's never going to be perfect. We know that, but we do want to be in front of the board and the community and providing very accurate financial information.
Here, we're gonna be looking at our next steps. We just looked at our unaudited actuals. We are actually, I don't know if you guys see our my board updates, but they've probably been similar the last few weeks. Year-end audit, interim audit, and year-end closing. So we're actually coming to an end on our interim audit and actually starting our current audit, and that's going to be going on for a few months. And we will be presenting our interim report in December, and then after that, we're going to be looking ahead into the 2025, 2026 budget. As we update the community, the board, throughout the year, it is important that we continue to monitor deficit spending and the impact of declining enrollment. So it's something that we're going to keep an eye out and keep reporting throughout this interim reports in the year. And as this report comes to an end for me to you guys, I also want to thank everybody involved, but especially the fiscal team. We've been working long hours, long days for the last couple of weeks trying to close the books, and we finally closed the books on Monday. Very challenging and task to complete. And yeah, I want to thank everybody involved. And I'll open it up to any questions.
Perfect. Mathematics, anybody? Manny?
A quick thing to say. I understand that declining enrollment is like one of the huge factors when considering our budget. And what I've seen when talking to families that have left our district, what I see is we have declining enrollment throughout our whole state. And then we have our own issues with, we all know we have, our district is doing great, but I mean, we have a lot of work to do. But people are leaving. And so like Coronado just opened up their enrollment, which had not been opened up in a long time. Sorry, no, it's done. They already finished. My point is, as declining enrollment increases for other districts, what we think, unless we have different programs and doing things to have a positive climate to attract our teachers and our students, other districts are going to open up. And so I just wanted to say that I understand the conservative numbers that you're taking because of declining enrollment. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm trying to write my mathematical question out. So I, bringing my 5th grade teacher in to me, and here it goes. What percent of the, roughly $22 million is designated for staff?
Let me go back to the slide I believe you're speaking about. Is this one right here?
What page is that?
Page number 8. And I believe you're speaking about the certificated staff.
I'm talking about
The
everybody.
22 million. So if you can see the actual expenditures is 22 million from the unrestricted budget goes to certificated staff. 9 million, roughly, to classified and 15 million to benefits.
And what about management?
That I do not have. I will have to get back to you on that, on that question, and I will get back to you with that. I don't have that number.
Okay, so what I'm asking for is what percent of that 42 million approximately is staff salaries to include all staff? Okay, that's the question I have. I wrote my little sentence down here. And so you don't have to give it to me now.
President Quinones, just so we provide, I'm sorry, the accurate information, are you asking for all staff breakdown with restricted staff as well, or just unrestricted? Broken down, we can break it down and provide both. I think that would be the most accurate.
I mean, this is your business and it's just my math problem.
Okay.
And other districts in the state of California are spending too much on their staffing. And so therefore the union partners are saying we're overstaffed. Okay, you got too much management, you got this, you got that. And so that's why I want to know how much money we're spending on staffing, and if it includes the unrestricted or the restricted, I don't care, out of the 42, okay? That's going to tell us what percentage of that 42 that's designated for staff for all.
Yeah,
We
can
can provide that.
I ask a clarifying? Just the 42 million is not necessarily what we spent. We actually spent a lot more than that. That's just our ending fund balance.
Right.
And our beginning fund balance.
Right.
So, yeah, as you recall back in June, we are a very people-centric district here. So yes, our expenditures into staff is quite a bit, and we can definitely report back on that.
Thank you. I just, in a Friday update, Superintendent. that'd
Yeah,
be great.
President Quinones, and I just want to make sure I'm understanding the question because we want to make sure we have the right information. Generally, when districts are looking at that, they're looking at their total percentage of the budget on staffing. And what you're asking is break that down by certificated, under certificated, our management should be in under certificated. But are you asking to break that down by management and then other certificated and classified? Or are you asking just all certificated?
Sorry, when people are out there saying that we'd have too many people upstairs here. And so I want to know, out of that 42 million, that supports all staff, okay? And so if we're going to come up top heavy, like one district has, what is it, 65 million, and 57 of that million is for staffing. They're in trouble. Okay, they're absolutely in trouble. So I
Okay.
just need a clear picture there.
Okay, so what we'll do is we will get you the total percentage of staff, the cost of that compared to our budget. So how much staff, what percentage of staff are we spending from our entire budget? That's the number I think you're asking about, because generally when it's talked about with other districts, that's the number that they look at generally. So we can definitely get you that.
Yeah, because I do know that, approximately we spend 85% of our budget on staff. So I just don't know, I can't do it right here in my head, out of the 42, what that looks like. So.
And I'm not really sure. That's kind of what's confusing me a little bit. I'm not
It's
really
not,
sure.
it's not 42 million, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to make sure we understand.
What are we talking
Our
about
expenditures,
carryover?
our expenditures are way higher than that. We're probably around 90 million. And I can tell you from memory, we're about 90% staff costs in our adopted budget for 24, 25. So about 90% of our budget, don't quote me on the exact percentage on there, goes to staffing.
We're
I
at
remember
90%.
About 90%, yes, ma'am. And I remember this from my previous presentation because that's when I was highlighting that we are a very, very people-centric district here in South Bay. So our big part of our both unrestricted and restricted budget is going to salaries, certificated, classified, and employee benefits. Yes, ma'am.
That's what I need, Superintendent.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank
So-
you. With that, We need to do some business here. Let's see, may I have a motion to approve the 2023-24 annual statement of unaudited actuals?
A motion to approve the 23-24 annual statement of unaudited actuals.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Nope, hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Esparza,
Yes.
Liker,
Yes.
Lopez Aguino,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Quinones.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
perfect.
Thank you. And I know Director Meadows thanked his staff, his fiscal department, but I do want to thank him for the time he put in and the work and leading his team to get this done. So I do want to make sure, I know he wasn't going to thank himself, but I'll thank him.
Well, we thank your whole department because, for one, I do know. And I'm sorry to have just put that question on the floor, but, I got to do what I got to do. So thank you so much again. Thank you.
And before the department leaves, I do want to give them a huge shout out because I have seen a lot of these. And the 22-23 year to only be off from our budgeted amount to our unaudited actuals, a 0.76%, under 1% is an amazing, amazing feat. That is almost perfect. 2.25% is amazing as well. And I really like this, this graph because you can really see what what amazing work they're doing in their department. So good job. Thank you very much.
I think we need to send that department a postcard, Miss Amy, and say thank you. Okay. All right, moving on to item 10, consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar will be enacted in one motion in the form listed below. Prior to the approval of the meeting agenda, there was an opportunity to request placing a consent calendar item in the discussion action section of the board meeting. There will be no discussion on these items prior to the board vote. The superintendent and the staff recommended approval, adoption, ratification, acceptance of all consent calendar items unless otherwise noted. May I have a motion?
I move to approve all items on the consent calendar is listed, including the superintendent's recommendations for denial or approval of leaves of absence.
Perfect. Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So we'll call for the vote. Ms.
Esparza,
Yes.
Liker,
Yes.
Lopez Aguino,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Quinones.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
perfect. All righty, we're turning the page and it's 8:30 now, so we have roughly 13 minutes to make the deadline, Miss Cooper. So we're moving on down to future agenda items. That's where we are, right? Perfect. Number 11, future agenda items. At this time, each trustee may suggest one topic for a future board meeting. Is there any requests at this time? Manny?
All right, make it short. I would like the board to support the AI presentation. That will be my future agenda.
Okay, I think that's coming up next. So this is another opportunity to request something. You have nothing? Nothing? Anything?
I'm not really sure how this works, but can we send a letter to Governor Newsom urging him to come down here and smell this thing
Well,
for himself?
you can ask this, you can ask the chair to ask the superintendent if we can, and then you will bring it back next month. And the board will have to vote to say, yes, we're gonna write a letter, and this is what it's gonna say, right, superintendent? So,
And can we how do we go about making this a letter, not just from us, but like bringing in the neighboring districts to join us in this letter?
okay, so we'll have to, vote that in first, that next month. But, and then the superintendent and the president will work on the semantics of your request and go forward with that. Okay, but we hear you.
All right, thank you.
Right, superintendent? Right. Anybody else? No, okay. Future agenda items follow-up. This is the follow-up. Okay, we're going to recognize our superintendent again, who will provide a direction on next steps for the future agenda items from August 22, 24 regular board meeting. Thank you, superintendent.
Thank you, President Quinones. We had 3 items, one by trustee Esparza. So he would like a presentation on artificial intelligence, including benefits and disadvantages in school districts. Trustee Lopez Aguino requested a presentation on Prop 58 and how this information is being shared with families. And Trustee Medina requested information in the Friday update on legal fees. And then I will let me start with Trustee Medina's because we did provide that information for all board members already. So if that was sufficient, then we can say that we've already done that. But if Trustee Medina would like something else, then we could move towards something else.
It's a question. I don't know if it could be answered right now,
Sure.
but that amount on legal fees, is that including the staff being involved in those meetings? Like the money that is being spent on those?
No, that's only legal fees. Those are the fees that we are paying the attorneys.
So,
Only the attorneys that are involved.
okay, so that makes a big difference in money wise, which is a lot. When you came in on board, the previous board gave you direction to look into this. Do you have a plan? Are you developing a plan on this?
So trustee Medina,
Just a question.
right now, you're advocating to us, not him.
Okay.
So stay with us, okay? I would like clarification. Go.
It's just
Do you
clarification
support
on
me?
that. Do you guys support me? Do you guys want that information? It's something that was brought up to superintendent when he got on board.
So we received some information and you feel that we need a plan to make it more efficient.
That was the direction that the previous board gave to superintendent, so I'm just bringing it back because I see that amount of money being so high, and now that he's clarifying that does not include staffing.
So it
salary
doesn't
right there.
include staff time. That is only, and I understand the question. And so what the board, I think what the board needs to consider is what Trustee Medina is saying. She wants a plan on how we are going to basically cut back the legal costs that we have, right?
Okay, so that is your quest. And if we all agree to spend staff time on this request, we have to say yes. Who's saying yes?
But the request could be him updating us, not necessarily during a meeting and having a whole presentation, but just for there to be some refinement.
Continue conversation with the
Yes.
superintendent.
Yes, I agree.
I agree. Yes.
Just to give it some contents, because trustee Medina is right. 2 years ago, we questioned that. So we appreciate the work, superintendent, that you gave the information to and through that, and, we learn more. So thank you. There you go, Janet. You happy?
Okay.
Happy? Okay. Okay.
All right, so let's go to Lopez Aguino. We're gonna go the opposite direction. Sorry, I thought that one was gonna be a little faster. That's okay.
I would be really interested in hearing more about Prop 58 for all of us here in the room. And how is it that we're getting this information out to parents? I mean, I think most, and importantly, or like kind of what I'm looking for here is not necessarily like just like a presentation for us, but could we create some space where we invite all the multilingual learning families or all the families in the district to come learn about the opportunities that we have through Prop 58. You know, like a quick history of like what happened before Prop 58, or how did Prop 58 come about? And why is this important, right? How does this impact us, or the, you know, the opportunities that we have, or what are our rights under Prop 58?
That is Jose's request. Board, what say you?
Just a question of clarification. Would that be a board presentation here in one of the board meetings, or just in?
Just an idea of something that might work well is when we have things like our, what we're having on October 5th at Mendoza. Like if we had, perhaps maybe this would fit into how to get information out there, to have a booth with someone who might be able to ask questions regarding some of the measures that will be on the ballot. I know for many of us, like when we read things, it's very vague or hard to understand what things. So for people who are interested in knowing this, like having a booth for people to come ask questions.
Yeah.
And sorry, just to clarify, I'm talking about Prop 58 that was passed several years ago. That maybe Mr. Superintendent, if you can share with us what.
Yeah, so
Prop 58 is?
basically Prop 58 says that if you have a certain amount of families that would like dual language or bilingual education, then we are required to provide it. I would say, and what I'm hearing Trustee Lopez Aguino say is that he's not necessarily looking for a board presentation because he wants this information shared with the community. So he's looking more for a plan on how we're sharing this information with the community. I would say, I believe we already have a way of doing that. And I go back to the amazing workshop that Director Flores and her team had last Saturday. And we could easily do something like that because we're going to continue to do those. So I think that we already have a way of doing it. But I think Lopez Aguino is asking for what's a plan to sharing that with the community, not necessarily a board presentation. You're not looking for us bringing it back here.
Yeah, correct. Sorry, and if it's possible, I would be really happy to be part of like the planning of this meeting, you know, helping to do some of the outreach. Because I remember as a parent, when we were advocating for the dual language immersion program, we were able to get, I believe, close to like 100 parents from Nicola that wanted to come out and learn about it. And I just think this is a really good opportunity for other folks throughout our district. And we could even use it as an opportunity to highlight some of like the cultural components that come with programs like dual language, right, to continue to build like this sense of community within the district, where we have like the mariachi clubs from Nestor and the, you know, Ballet Folklorico and, you know, all those programs. So people can really see the benefit of what it means to have a dual language program.
What say you, board?
I think like, you know, we're getting in the weeds. It's a good thought, but trustees, we do a lot of outreach. It's a good idea. Okay. But this, you know, I wonder about, politically speaking, at a school site, you know. But in regards to my last month's request about the communication calendar, when we bring that forward, things like what happened last Saturday for the DLAC parents is going to be on this calendar, I would hope. Okay. And so with that, I'm going to look at that and say, you know, this is a good idea, Superintendent. Can we do, you know, little hopscotch competition there, okay? And so, I just opened that to the trustees that a lot of things are happening that, we not necessarily know right now what that plan is. Go ahead.
Can I just comment something really quick? I was part of that committee and I was educated by teachers about that proposition. And I think most of our parents don't know their rights, and just informing them, probably in all school sites, providing that information to parents in ELAC, because I don't know if all ELAC committees do that. And I was part of the Mendoza as a parent, and there was a lot of good information provided for us as parents, but I would not disregard what what he's trying to do for the community.
Yeah, and I think right now, Trustee Lopez Aguino is simply asking for a plan. How are we sharing the information from Prop 58?
I'll give that a thumbs up. So you get that to us in a Friday update or something? Okay.
Yes,
We're
you and
good.
I can get together and talk.
Friday update, Jose? Okay.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all
Yep,
for the support.
everybody says yay. Okay, one more.
All right, Trustee Esparza, artificial intelligence.
All right, so here's again, must be tired. I would like the board to support me on the AI presentation. That is my future agenda.
Question for superintendent. Would that take away a lot of time for staff to create that? I mean, I don't know if it's possible to be in the next one. I don't want to give like a time, like a deadline time. I don't know if you agree with that or not, because our staff is going through a lot of things right now. So I don't know, just a thought, a question.
And generally, the process is if the board agrees that this is a topic that you want to learn more about, or that you want staff to spend time on, then the president and I will get together and we have that discussion. And I kind of think about, well, I think it's going to take this much time to do that. And then we figure out, okay, what's the best way to deliver that to the board? So I think the first step is just deciding, do we want to know more about AI?
With all due respect, I think we have so much going on right now, and hopefully if you go to the California School Board Association conference in December, they have some amazing seminar sessions on that topic. And last year when I went, that was even one of the main speakers, the gentleman, the keynote speaker, thank you, was the gentleman who created Khan Academy. So there is a wealth of information that you're about to learn about that. And then I think after that, and after we've settled some other things, it's very interesting.
I just want to, I don't want, well, I'm not meaning to throw you off with your, with what you're trying to do, but we have the committee right now and staff that's really involved, and we have all these meetings. I'm not saying disregarded, we could bring it back probably, but I don't know what you think.
So the AI is something new. It's new for the community. It's new for the schools, and that everybody talks about it. And I think it's it's something that we can definitely bring it up later on today. I mean, in December or next year. But so I just wanted to see what the board feels about it.
Well, I would support in the new year because everybody's, jammed up right now. And so I would support the request, I don't know if we want to do it December because everything's jammed up, but like January, bring it back.
Okay, so we just do it by, the beginning next year. I don't have problems with that.
We're good.
Or maybe if we're concerned about staff time, we can just have AI do the AI presentation.
You know, as trustee Medina was talking about committee, work, I just remembered we do have a proposed committee on AI. So possibly, once that committee gets going, we can bring back a report from them. They're not working yet, I don't believe. Not yet. But they are, it's planned, so we could probably get back together, once that committee starts working.
Thank you, but it is a great idea and I look forward to hearing more about that committee. So we're on to the last, no, well, yeah, next to last, number 12, communications from the Board of Trustees. Here we have 3 minutes limit per trustee. Who'd like to go first? Janet, go.
Really quick. I started on my month with a board site visit to Barry. I want to say it was amazing. The facility looks great. I love the colors. We were very well welcomed. I also attended the Mendoza as a parent, since I am a parent of this district, that children that attend this district. I also attended the facility assessment management on Wednesday, which is the superintendent advisory committee. Thank you.
I'll go ahead. Okay. It was a rough start to this week. But I really appreciate, as a Nestor parent, I appreciate how quickly things were addressed as far as like messages going out through Dojo, getting a phone call at nearly 10 o'clock at night. I appreciate that it wasn't felt like, oh no, it's too late to share this information, and as well as an email. So I thank you, Principal Gonzalez, wherever, if you're still here, and everybody for working so quickly on that. And also hearing the positive feedback from our parent, Ms. Stanley, from SWATA President Ferreira, regarding collaboration, regarding like acknowledging that we are listening to our community. I know that things can feel very slow moving. I know I mentioned earlier how other school districts who with declining enrollment have opened up, and that might take some of our school or some of our students away, but they don't have everything that we have as far as like free after school clubs. They have to pay for their clubs. They don't have free intercession for their students. There's a lot of blessings that our community has, and I encourage us all to, if we're going to take to Facebook to talk about our district, to highlight the wonderful things about our district and the work that we've done. Like, it may seem slow moving, but it's happening. So I'm super thankful to be a part of it all, and thank you all for your hard work.
Thank you so much for those who took the time to come to the board. It's an honor. I know sometimes it take a little bit longer than expected, but you know, everybody's welcome. I like to listen to every single person that comes in and get their ideas. The presentation for the assistant superintendents, great. Director Paula Flores, I mean, excellent. Even Principal Corrales, thank you so much. I know she brought her staff, and you know, I like to listen to, you know, how great the schools are and how we can make it happen. We can make a great the district out of this. But like I said, your participation means a lot to us. Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to share that I had the pleasure of meeting the new principal at Nicola, Ms. Sandoval, at the Coffee with the Principal a couple weeks ago, and it was a great meeting. We talked about things like cyberbullying, which is very interesting to learn more about. And there was a lot of people there. There's 25, 30 parents at the meeting early in the morning, and it was really great to see so much engagement. You can tell Ms. Sandoval has a lot of experience. It was great to hear her speak really good Spanish the whole meeting, which is really great. And a lot of our parents um, really appreciate that. And it was very like a good feeling to have her there at Nicola. And yeah, thank you all for being here tonight and all the hundreds of people watching us over Zoom. I hope you all have a great night.
I want to piggyback something on what Trustee Gino said. I was not able to attend in person with the coffee with the principal, but she's amazing that she did a Zoom together. She was doing both in person and in Zoom, and it was great. She was reading comments from parents, answering questions, doing both things at once. Just wanted to throw it out there.
We will definitely thank her for that.
Yeah, that's great. Whoa, technology. Using technology at its finest. I like that. Well, I'm going to be really quick here. We did go to Barry. It was an awesome experience, Superintendent. Not only does the school look beautiful, thank you, landscape maintenance. It was like picture perfect. Okay. The rooms, the teachers were all welcoming. The most important thing, I think this was good, Janet, you know that, where we got a little PD on the iReady. and the principal did that for us. And that's the first time, I think, in 7 years, a principal sat us down to talk about assessment. See, so as we go, where is he? Is he here? Are you hiding? Get out of there. Over there. No, but about 7 years, well, Bob Daly was a principal, and he sat us down in his office, the whole board, and he showed us what the dashboard read and what this meant, this baseline. And all our kids were down here. Look, she's smiling. Okay. So very enlightening 7 years ago. And so to learn about the iReady like we did that day, wasn't it so amazing? I mean, now we know what you're saying. Okay, we had eyes on and the information. So thank you, Mr. Barry Principal. Tell your staff thank you for welcoming us. And it's always fun at Barry. In my travels this month, I was in attendance at the Wellness Center ribbon cutting at IB Charter. IB Charter. And everybody was so gracious there, and staff coming in and coming to report to work, stopped there in the gate and talk with us. And they had a presentation and a resolution that was presented by, I don't know, somebody important. And so it's a great use of space, Superintendent, a great use of space. And thank you, Sunny Slope, for coming this evening, and staff. I remember when we named Sunny Slope, and I say it to this day, it's always sunny at Sunny Slope. So that's my saying for Sunny Slope. It's been a hard week, and it was only Tuesday that we just said we've had enough. Okay. So I did attend the trustees Sunday night. I don't know what time. It must have been like 7 or 8 or 9. I get this text, you have to come. And it was a news release from the Imperial Beach mayor. I can go on and say what it was, but the meat of it was children, students, South Bay, Sweetwater. You have to come, Cheryl. I sent that information to Amy and our superintendent. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. And so I have no idea. I spoke with Vanessa and I invited Vanessa to go. I had no idea who was going to be in the room. And so we were all in that room, and we were enlightened about what we had been smelling for a week. And my backyard is right there at the base, so it's just right on me. And so, I don't know how kids could sit in their classrooms and go play outside, especially in that area. And so it was really important for me to go. And then what came after that was a report from our county supervisor on Facebook Live, who said the scientist was wrong. And the scientist got readings from her wand and it was off the chart. She called the big guys from Texas who brought the bigger wands and analyzed the pollutants and toxins that her thing wasn't even picking up. And so for somebody that's, we're trying to get an emergency resolution. So the national and state recognizes that we have a disaster, an environmental disaster here. And it's slowly killing us. And so for them to bring it forward like that for our students in our district, our superintendent came. And so when that county supervisor disregarded even our doctors who called me at 7:30 in the morning on Monday and explained to me about stuff, it's just like, it was so happening so fast. And so by Tuesday, we get the, nothing's wrong thing. And then the scientist comes back out again and said, I'm a scientist and, science is always changing, but this is true. Okay. So parents wanted to stay home. We can't do that. All we can do is make sure that the environment's safe and clean and ready. And I shared that with our parents. And we don't have virtual academy anymore. Board, we don't have that option. One parent said, well, you have iReady, and she named another program. And I told her what iReady was. Thank you, Barry Principal. And so it's been real difficult for us, our district, our community, our staff, and it continues. So please watch the news. There's a lot of news on social media. I don't talking about Facebook pages, but the county supervisor comes on and does an oral report live. So does the mayor sometimes. Today I attended at 2:00 the Air Quality Review Board meeting. I know I'm just like wacko, okay, but I do these things, okay, and so they're telling everybody, we're in charge of the air, okay, so people over here, settle down because that's their job, okay, so now we're waiting for them to make a decision about what they're going to recommend. Okay, and the superintendent has to wait for all these things to click, click, click. Okay, so I understand the anxiety. I have it. Okay, and so community know that we know that, and what we need to do, we will do. You have something to say, Superintendent?
Yes, thank you very much, President Quiñones, and I totally see that you are worried about this issue. And thank you for pointing out that, as a district, we are working with public health because that is who we take our direction from. So thank you very much for saying that. And I do want to give, before we close here, I do want to give one last thank you. I want to thank all the staff that showed up for the Jose Montano 5K on Sunday. And, it was really hot out there. It was really humid, but we had a lot of staff that showed up. And even though Assistant Superintendent Lara tried to show up at the end, like he ran, but he really didn't. But I do appreciate all the staff that were there. Thank you. Good night.
Okay, good. So on that note, if there's no other further communication, the time is 9:02. This meeting is adjourned. Hey.